Good morning. My name is Jerry Carden. My pronouns are he, him. I am a light-skinned, salt and pepper hair, nearly 74 years, not 74 years old, nearly 70 years old, and a cisgender male. I'm happy to serve as the worship associate this morning and to call us to worship with this reading from the Singing the Living Tradition. Janet and I are going to tag team on this one, while Tim lights our chalice. To worship is to stand in awe under a heaven of stars, before a flower, a leaf in sunlight, or a grain of sand.
To worship is to be silent, receptive, before a tree astir with the wind, or the passing shadow of a cloud.
To worship is to work with dedication and with skill. It is to pause from work and listen to a strain of music.
To worship is to sing with the singing beauty of the earth. It is to listen through a storm to the still small voice within.
Worship is a loneliness seeking communion. It is a thirsty land crying out for rain.
Worship is kindred fire within our hearts. It moves through deeds of kindness and through acts of love.
Worship is the mystery within us, reaching out to the mystery beyond.
It is an inarticulate silence waiting to speak. It is the window of the moment, open to the sky of the eternal. Would you stand as you are able to join with us in singing hymn 170, We Are a Gentle, Angry People.
Sing
Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Urbana-Champaign. We are people of many ages, histories, genders, bodies, identities, and beliefs who are connected by a shared commitment to our mission to build community, seek inspiration, promote justice, and find peace. Please look around at the color-coded lanyards of your neighbors and be aware and respectful of others' needs and boundaries. We are a congregation of all ages, which means we embrace all the noises and little interruptions our kids and others can bring into a Sunday morning. As always, people of any age are invited to grab a coloring pack from the box just outside the doors in the back if you want to keep your hands busy. And if you need more space to stretch, wiggle around, or just make a bathroom trip, you can also go anytime across the entryway into Fellowship Hall where the service is being live streamed. We did have a request for a special announcement this morning considering the weather, and I believe Pat McClard, our security grand poobah, is here to guide us.
Good morning. Grand Poobah, awesome. So there is a chance of severe weather starting at 10:45. Probably nothing's going to happen, but if the sirens do go off for an event like this, we will gather in the basement, basically in the area at the bottom of the stairs. I'm not going to either wing because there's tons of windows, so really in that kind of central area, I don't know what to call it, but I'm at the bottom of the stairs. If you have mobility issues and can't make it downstairs, then we will guide you to just inside the bathrooms upstairs. I think the women's is the same, but as you walk in, there's just kind of a wall right next to the door. If you go all the way in, then again, there's a window at the end. So we want you to kind of stay there at the front so that you're not in the way of a window if, this should get severe. So, Charles. No, just in case electricity, gets knocked out, then. The question was, should we try to use the Elevet? And the answer is no, because if electricity goes, then that's going to be a problem. Okay, any other questions? I'm sure it'll be fine.
And many thanks to Pat. Our children's REE program is on hiatus for the summer, and children and families are welcome to stay in the sanctuary for the entirety of the service, and the nursery is available for little ones 5 and younger. There is a special event happening today. Our children's program is on hiatus for the summer. I think most people caught that. And if there is a special event happening, though, this morning. Christine Cahill had offered to do a class called Sun Printing with Christine Cahill. And that is going to be happening this morning during the service. And if I had known this, I probably would have gone down there instead of helping with the service. Because this sounds really cool. How to make prints with the art of cyanotype, a photographic process that uses sunlight to create images on special paper. I hope they don't have to have a lot of sunlight. You will use found things or objects from nature to create your unique paper print to take home. And at this time, anybody that would like to go, or youth or young at heart, are free to head down and do the cyanotype process. And while you decide, I'll keep moving on. If you are a visitor today, we bid a special welcome and invite you to complete a visitor's card so we may stay connected. And if you're joining us via live stream, please say hello in the YouTube chat and know that you too are welcome this morning. You may recall that earlier in the summer, we already had a hymn sing sponsored by the worship committee. This morning's service has to do with hymns as well, but from a different vantage point. In the summer of 2018, the worship committee led a service with the hymn, "Each Breath is Borrowed Air," as the focal point, inviting reflections from those with particular ties to science, nature, faith, and the arts. Today, we return to this hymn with a focus on the way that hymns enrich our worship services as well as our daily lives. We will celebrate the way we hold their evocative images and expressive phrases in our minds and hearts, calling them up when we need them most. Alyssa Blake will read the text of "Each Breath is Borrowed Air." This poem has been copied for you in the order of service if you wish to follow along. As you listen, notice the images and word choices the poet Thomas Traeger drew upon as he crafted this text. Alyssa? And it's on the back side of one of the handouts that were at the back table. And if anybody missed it, our usher, Jeanette, is probably happy to help. Just raise your hand.
Good morning. Each breath is borrowed air, not ours to keep and own, and all our breaths as one declare what wisdom long has known. To live is to receive, and answer back with praise to what our minds cannot conceive, the source of all our days. The sea flows in our veins, the dust of stars is spun to form the coiled encoded skeins by which our cells are run. To live is to receive, and answer back with praise to what our minds cannot conceive, the source of all our days. From earth and sea and dust arise yet greater things, the wonders born of love and trust, a grateful heart that sings. To live is to receive, and answer back with praise to what our minds cannot conceive, the source of all our days. And when our death draws near and tries to dim our song, our parting prayers will make it clear to whom we still belong. To live is to receive, and answer back with praise to what our minds cannot conceive, the source of all our days.
Thank you, Alyssa, for that beautiful reading. My name is Janet Ravel Barrett, and I'm also worship associate for this morning, or co-leader, or whatever it is we are. And so I'm grateful to be here with you on this beautiful Sunday morning. Each one of us carries a storehouse of words, phrases, texts, and rhymes in our memories. And even in these tech-laden times, some word chains are so embedded in our minds that we don't have to ask Dr. Google, right? Or as my grandson says, search that up, Nana. I remember how excited I was as a child when a certain guest preacher, whose name was Brother Putnam, came to town, and he had this little routine that he always did, asking children to stand up in the pews, and if we had memorized his favorite saying, we would get a crisp dollar bill. How cool is that? So we were really excited, ready to raise our hands in the air, and the phrase was, I would not enter upon my list of friends the man who would needlessly set foot upon a worm. I don't think it was scriptural. But I still carry that around with me some 65 years later. It's still in my head. I've still got it after all these years. The significance of that story is deeper than it may appear at the first. When we enter into spaces of worship together, we take away images, fragments of sounds and sights and words that persist. They take root in our minds and our hearts. We use the phrase to know something by heart. And indeed, that applies to the hymns we sing, crafted by poets who use their wonderful gifts of evocative vocabulary and metaphor and juxtaposition of ideas to deepen our experience and make it more likely that we'll learn something by heart. Think of, for instance, the juxtaposition of gentle and angry in our first hymn. You would never put those two together in normal space, but Holly Near did when she was moved after the assassination of San Francisco supervisor and champion of gay rights Harvey Milk to write that song, which has become anthemic, meaning that it is now an anthem for gay rights and many other forms of protest. And when I'm confronted with inexplicable things on a daily basis that I just can't make sense of, it's phrases like that. We're a gentle, angry people, that I can still be angry at the same time I can choose nonviolence. And I carry that with me. I carry that phrase with me. In 1981, I was invited to participate in a festival honoring a new hymnal. I'm going to hold it up just because it's fun. It has my name on it and everything. It was called Hymns of the Saints, and at this gathering, a gentleman, an executive director from the Hymn Society of America, which is a very lively group, he got up and he said something that also stuck with me. If you read a hymn a day as a poem, you'll increase your ability to read poetry, to be sensitive to what it has to bring you, to the capacity that poetry has to distill meaning. And so I often think when I crack open a new hymnal, in fact, I like to do this when I visit another church. I might be there for a child's piano recital, but I'm really scoping out their hymnal. I just wonder what poetic vistas will appear when I crack it open. Thomas Troger is the poet inspired to write Each Breath is Borrowed Air. He's actually one of the most prolific hymn writers of our age, a professor at the Yale School of Divinity, and his particular passion was to write about things that normally don't land in hymnals, including environmentalism, genetics, the Big Bang Theory, and theories of creation. So that's what stood out to me when I stumbled across Each Breath is Borrowed Air in this hymnal called Community of Christ Sings. And I was immediately drawn to it, and it felt to me like, this feels like something that should be in our UU hymnal. Troger wrote, "Faith and science need each other. An anti-scientific faith easily turns demonic, and a science hostile to the wisdom of an intellectually acute faith may use its knowledge destructively. Songs of praise moving through the human heart can help heal those divisions." Would that be true, right? Isn't that a marvelous idea? And that's why we need a more scientifically informed hymnody. When writing, Troger strives for texts with the capacity to have a surplus of meaning. Through this hymn, we think about the first verse, moves through the human experience of drawing a breath, which we do so many times we don't even think about it. And the wonders of circulatory systems and genetic codes are in the second. That part about the coiled and coated skeins, I thought, when do we ever sing about DNA, right? It's really remarkable. In verse 3, we turn to the very human attributes of love and gratitude that knit us together. And then in verse 4, we come around to the inevitability of death in view of the mysteries of higher powers, which he doesn't name except to say the source of all our powers. So we can answer what is that source in our own terms. Since taking this hymn into my circle of treasured hymns, I often think of the gifts and opportunities of my life when I'm called to answer back through praise, service, and greater things. Jerry and I have cooked up a little part that you can participate in this morning. In the middle of your pews, you'll see some papers, and let me explain this before you start rattling them. We would invite you to think of a hymn phrase, a piece of poetry that you carry around with you all the time, that somehow serves to speak to something that you need, such that you know it by heart. And if you would take one of the yellow papers, and there are a couple crayons, so you'll have to share with your neighbors, and write out that phrase in nice big letters. And then after we have a period of writing and some time to do that, the ushers will come and collect those and bring them up front so that Jerry and I can see them. So now let's have a period of silence, just a few minutes for you to do your writing. Yes, the assignment is on this piece of paper. In fact, Jerry, would you hand me that? I'll do it myself. Hang on. So I wrote, later on I'm going to talk about the time like an ever-rolling stream. And so I just wrote that phrase on my piece of paper in nice big letters. So something you carry with you that gives you strength or hope, consolation, joy, gratitude, service, fill in the blank. Yeah, you can use anything as long as it's readable. And the blue ones we'll use later for something else. So the color has significance. This keeps coming out. I see some good sharing in the pews. That's admirable. All right, I'm going to move on. You can finish your writing, but when you're done, would you pass them to the outside of your pews? Yeah, that way, that way, that way, outside. All right, each week we practice spiritual generosity for making space for the joys and sorrows we carry with us when we gather. We begin this practice with an embodied ritual of singing a blessing song. And today you'll be invited to come forward during that song to drop a stone for a sorrow or a petal for a joy into our shared bowls of water. You're invited to write down joys and sorrows on the cards that you find in the pew racks or submit them by email to joysandsorrows@uucuc.org. And we'll share those aloud later in the service. We trust this act of sharing lightens our burdens and increases our joys, even if just for this hour. So I invite you to come forward as you're so moved as we sing our blessing song. So some of these treasured phrases, Jerry and I are just going to read a few, and then we'll spread them out on the table in the fellowship hall that's closest to the office. So that if you want to, during fellowship hall, look at the range of gorgeous phrases, we'll be able to do so at that time. Otherwise, we might be here till mid-afternoon. All right, Jerry.
Eternal Father, strong to save, whose arm doth bind the restless wave, who bids the mighty ocean deep its own appointed limits keep. O hear us when we cry to thee for those in peril on the sea.
Sometime I feel like a motherless child.
Love will guide us.
You don't have to sing it.
Yes, I do.
He gets a bonus for that. I've got peace like a river.
Find my way to my blue boat home.
Be not afraid. I go before you always.
Our skies are blue as theirs.
Then sings my soul. A good
One
one.
of my favorites.
Okay, one more.
I once was lost, but now am found.
And yeah, we want to woke. So we'll post these so that you can page through them. I can't wait to see them myself.
They're very rich.
So now Jody Hanger will sing the hymn, Each Breath is Borrowed Air, which also is in your order of service. And you may want to look at the music to see how the melody rises and falls and how the verses and the refrains work, and pay attention to the way the text and the music go along with one another.
And all restless one declare.
Thank you, Jody. I just love hearing that. You know, I think this step is missing Beth this morning because it keeps pushing outwards. It's like, where is she? Where is she? And Michael, thank you so much for your beautiful accompaniment. And the prelude, I don't know if you noticed, but he did his own arrangement of this hymn as the prelude, which was so beautiful. All right, so at UUCUC, we have adopted the practice of singing by following words on the screen. But I often sit in these pews wondering if our hymnals are rattling in their racks, just waiting for us to pick them up. So much depends on the melding of the text and the tune, the composer's skill in forging strong bonds by using melody and rhythm and harmony and all those beautiful tools of the musician, and studying the musical setting, just as we study the poem, can heighten how the musical decisions amplify the meaning, make it stronger, make it more likely that we'll take it into our hearts. We have so much to learn by setting our hymnals free, and I wish that we would do that. And although I could give you a whole lecture on this, I want to give you a couple quick examples. During the month of June, we sang Lift Every Voice and Sing almost every Sunday. And for those of you who like this sort of thing, I want to recommend a book called May We Forever Stand, which is a social history of Lift Every Voice and Sing, written by the marvelous author Imani Perry. And she traces its trajectory. It started out as a song for children to sing. It got moved to a text, a hymn that people pasted in the back of hymnals in the South. And then it became the anthem of the NAACP. And now it's achieved nearly iconic status in our society. So it's fascinating to see that progression. There's a phrase that every time we sing it, I think about how the tune and the text are married together. When we sing, let our rejoicing rise high as the listening skies. If that doesn't just pull you up out of your seats, right? Rejoicing rise. I mean, that's so deliberate. And James Weldon Johnson and his brother, J. Rosamond Johnson, partnered to make that happen. And that's a beautiful example. A personal example that means so much to me because it was sung at my grandmother's funeral, and then just a few weeks ago at my nephew's memorial service, is O God, our help in ages past. And the verse that just takes me over and above everything is the one that goes, time like an ever-rolling stream soon bears us all away. We fly forgotten as a dream dies at the opening day. And if you think about that tune, do 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 do, it's as if time is rolling. It extends before our comprehension and after our brief time here on earth. And I always think about time like an ever-rolling stream every time I sing or hear that hymn. So what's the composer's musical artistry for each breath? Note how Sally Ann Morris, and I'm going to talk more about her in a minute, when she set Troger's poem to music, decided that the first phrase would be like a breath that you exhale. Each breath is borrowed air. Right? The start of the refrain is a particular workout. I'm in a bad key. Michael, would you give me an F and a C? Yeah. To live is to receive and answer back with praise. You really get to stretch everything, just as if you are unceasingly thinking about the joys of living. They continue to expand and expand in your life. And then the tune lands on a mystery. To what our minds cannot not conceive. And conceive gets the longest note so far, right? Because we're thinking, we're grappling with, how is this possible? The source of all our days. It's the source. It's the amazing power that allows us to live our lives on earth. And so when I think about the artistry of this, I looked up Sally Ann Morris, and I decided I was going to see if I could find her. So I wrote to her. She's the musician for the Iona community in Scotland this summer. And we wrote back and forth, and it was just charming. And I said to her, I've always thought this hymn feels like a UU hymn. And she told me that Tom Troger had written the text for a gathering of UUs in Texas. It's been sung widely across denominations, and it's even been the theme of a hymn festival. And if you think about Holly Near's song, which is so easy to sing, this one is not, right? It's not. You can just hear it. And this is what Sally had to say. I admit this tune is not the most congregation-friendly because of its wide range, its chromatics, and the huge leaps in the refrain, which remind me of building momentum and height on a trampoline. So think about that. Da, 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 da. We're just on a trampoline. And then there's that long note on conceive, but I couldn't stop from writing it that way. And therefore, I was thrilled when the Community of Christ team selected it for the hymnal. We have many hymns in our hymnal that are just waiting to be sung, and we don't sing them as frequently as I would hope. But there's a new horizon for Unitarian Universalism in terms of song resources and musical resources for congregational singing. It's a virtual hymnal that was announced at General Assembly, and it's called Sing Out Love. And you can get a sense of its scope if you look at its mission statement. I'm going to read this aloud just because I like to read. Okay. The UUA's virtual hymnal task force, go task force, and its song selection team envisions Sing Out Love as a living collection of song resources through an accessible, equitable online platform grounded in UU values. Sing Out Love will help Unitarian Universalism live into our prophetic calling as a joyful, liberatory, and anti-oppressive faith. You'll sign up for it by subscription, and Reverend Beth has already told me that that's in the works for us. So they've also published a call for submissions, and I thought you might be curious about this because in contradiction to a physical thing that's published once and that's it, this will be ever evolving. New pieces will be added to it at all the time. And so there's a handout that we gave to you this morning just for your reference where the criteria for new hymns should evaluate how the new submission influences our minds, bodies, hearts, spirits, and here's a word I didn't expect, and guts. It's interesting to me, this is my music teacher self, that I wish that there were more musical criteria in this list. There are not so many. It's mostly about text, but that's important too. I just hope that the new tunes we get to sing are as enlivening as the ones that we love already. So here comes your next writing task. When you think of something like this, what do you wish for? What do you hope for? What do you want to sing about in community and in congregation that we seldom get to sing about or don't sing about enough? And so on the blue sheets, and this could be maybe a word, it could be a phrase. Let me give you an example. I wish for intergenerational hymns. I would love hymns where there are parts for children to sing that are suited to their voices and parts for everybody else to sing. I would love to see that. in a new resource, a new hymnal. So take a few minutes on the blue ones to write out, what is it that you wish for? What do you hope this new resource will contain? I'll clean up a little.
You can continue writing while I move into the offertory. We live our mission at this congregation in many ways. Building community means welcoming new members and also connecting day to day and week to week through the opportunities both within and beyond our walls. We invite you to subscribe to and read our weekly e-news to stay up to date on all of the activities offered through our REE program and our social action councils. This morning, I'm going to highlight a couple things. Our Inquirers series continues today after service here in the sanctuary. These hour-long sessions are open to everyone who wants to learn more about our church. Today's session is about building connections and community. And we've already talked about the Christine Cahill cyanotypes, which I hope to see some of their results. And there are a few other events in your order of service: the book and magazine exchange, Nature and Myths of Immigration. Join the immigration justice team at the First Mennonite Church on Monday, July 28th. And save the date, Crop Walk is coming, and we always end up with lots of people that get involved with that. And even if you can't walk, you can write a check or donate. Peggy Patton is the person to see about Crop Walk. And Jim Hannum. We've had a change. Missing something? Check out the Lost and Found tub in the fellowship hall. Each Sunday, in recognition of our very real interdependence and reliance on each other, we pass the plate and share our offering with an organization doing the work of justice in the world. Our shared offering partner for July is MAIA, Maya Impact School, which is an organization led by Indigenous women for Indigenous girls in Guatemala, empowering generations of young Indigenous women through an educational model that embraces academics, culture, socio-emotional intelligence, personal development, and family engagement. Maya transformed not just its students, but their entire communities. You can give through Realm and via the online portal on our website. Or if you are here in the sanctuary, the basket will be passed and checks could be made out to UUCUC, and in the memo put shared offering. Half of all non-pledge donations will go towards sustaining the work of this church, and the other half will go directly to our shared offering partner for the month. We invite you to give whatever is generous for you. This is also the time to submit a written joy or sorrow.
Thank you for your generosity expressed in this and so many ways. And now we'll turn to our spiritual generosity as we hold these joys and sorrows in our hearts. This is from Sylvia and Brian McDermott. Concern for her niece and her family. Her husband, a fit young man, has had heart surgery and has been diagnosed with a chronic fatigue syndrome. He took a leave from med school, and she accepted Doge forced buyout. They're loving parents of a 2-year-old trying to figure out their next steps. So many difficulties. This is from Gail Cohen, sorrow for the defunding of PBS and NPR. A joy from Beth Simpson, I don't have to use a cane. I think that deserves a yay! Beth says it came after a clinical trial of sneakers. My brain got confused. Yay! And I'm looking for ones just in. This is from Sarah Wisseman. I'm grateful for spending so much time with wonderful grandchildren this past week, and a sorrow. It's been 6 years since we've seen our daughter, since she joined an apocalyptic cult in Mississippi. From Emily McCown, with just 1 year left of divinity school, I'm so excited to share the news that I've accepted a full-time position as Director of Campus Ministry at the McKinley Foundation on campus. Whoa! I'm thrilled to live out my UU values serving the diverse students at Presby Hall and the university community at large. Thanks to UUCUC for all the support in my call to ministry. That's just wonderful news, Emily. And from James Hannum, this Friday is Sandy's birthday. Give her a hug to help her celebrate. Are there any other joys or sorrows that I did not read at this point in time? All right, well, thank you so much, and we hold all of those joys in our heart and celebrate with you. We hold those sorrows in our consideration, and we reach out in empathy and in all the ways that a caring community can lift up these concerns at this time for all those going through hardships. All right, so Jerry, let's see what people are hoping for. Can you bring up this just in? This feels like, the banners across the screen for the news flashes. So let's see what we're hoping for.
Simple, accessible melodies, catchy refrains, intuitive harmony.
Inclusion and understanding of all, including both liberal and conservative views, so that we can break down the divides we now experience.
Sing strength and resilience, rounds, 2 parts, etc. Sleep, wake, and go.
Loving,
upbeat.
More hymns that open a new and current issues of concern to UUs or new perspectives, and a vote for enhancement, Rising Green featured prominently.
Hymns that challenge established ideas and power structures. Go.
The idea that our future is in our children. One more.
Mountain's majesty. This land is my land, this land is your land, and also hope.
The idea that you are not an apology. So there are wonderful, wonderful things, and we could go on, but we'll put these also on the table so that you can look through them as we will too. And we'll hope that this new resource meets some of the expectations that we have for a dynamic new ability for us to sing. Very good, thank you, Jerry. All right, and let's see. So Jerry, guess what? It's your turn.
I'm sure we could all write a treatise on not just hymns, but other songs that roll through our minds at odd times, or even at times that we need to call them up to help us get through a certain event, whether sad or joyful. So here's mine. My grandma Carden is responsible for my love of traditional Christian-inspired hymns. I was raised going to a small rural Iowa Methodist church with no shortage of church ladies that could play the organ or piano and bring those hymns to life. Depending on the skill level of each volunteer, hymns could plod along with no real feeling. But Grandma Mary did not play the piano for church services, but she loved entertaining me with her hulk of an upright piano, a 1921 wedding present from her parents. She and Sister Alma were the entertainers for many a party for their large family of cousins. Living on a family farm, my grandparents lived in the large 1872 farmhouse, about a football field away from our house, built for my parents when Dad returned from World War II and came back to the farm. She and her house were my shelter and my rock, away from my family, who never understood me quite like Grandma did. I was so lucky to have them right next door. Perched on her piano bench was a favorite getaway. Her piano rack was festooned with not only popular tunes from her childhood, but every decade to the 60s. As soon as a popular tune made it to the Lawrence Welk or the Ed Sullivan Show, Grandma was at the music store on her Town Tuesdays, buying or placing an order for that sheet music. She could crank out and sing all those popular tunes with skill and gusto, everything from the Tennessee Waltz to Petula Clark's Downtown, or Silver Bells and things like that at Christmas time. This was all prior to air conditioning, and during the open window weather, if she wanted company, she knew a certain little boy would come running to the siren song of her piano and voice wafting across the lawn. Many a phrase from those popular tunes and hymns bubble up in my brain quite often as something reminds me of a particular tune or set of lyrics. I'll often start singing that phrase or humming that tune as I move through my day. I think sometimes annoying my husband a bit. Grandma prized her Methodist hymnal, as well as the purchased sheet music, with hymn tunes that were not found in that hymnal, such as my granddad's favorite, How Great Thou Art, or one of mine, I Come to the Garden Alone, which some of you might recognize. Hymns at her piano never plodded along like in church. Her hands flew across the keyboard as she warbled out the words, and the sidekick leaned to the left when that hand strode down for the low bass notes and to start the many arpeggios. Some of those favorite hymn tunes and words are ones that still float in and out of my thought stream, often as I perform mundane tasks, walking the dog, baking up a pie or cake, or at odd times that I really can't explain. Many of those tunes have become meditations, and I've altered the lyrics to meet my own beliefs in theology, which allows for a higher power as the energy fields and vibrations of the universe. The Hebrew word nephesh relates to the living breath in all sentient beings. This hymn, Each Breath, refers to the very breath of life and our temporary existence on this planet. One of the attractions upon visiting the UU Church the first several times were many familiar hymn tunes from my Methodist days, but with altered lyrics to satisfy the more secular among us. Some of my UU faves, Spirit of Life, how can I keep from singing, sound over all waters, for all that is our life. And this one always gets me into the tears. We are our ancestors' prayers, and we lift every voice and sing, earth was given as a garden. And these words from, not necessarily was this a UU hymn, have thine own way, Lord, have thine own way. Thou art the potter, I am the clay. Mold me and make me after thy will, while I meditate, waiting and still. I did change a few words there, because I don't believe in a puppet string kind of God. At the 2018 worship service, in which Janet introduced this hymn tune and lyrics, not in the UU hymnal, I knew in an instant it would become a favorite. For the tune, yes, but especially for the poem and lyrics. That poetry invokes my belief in the marriage of science and spirit, breath as borrowed and shared air, the sea flowing in our veins, and the same dust as the stars and coiled in our DNA. Humans and our galaxy share about 97% of the same kind of atoms. And research has found that these elements of life appear to be more prevalent toward the galaxy's center. And another strong tie to this hymn, and I change gears just a little bit here. On July 22nd, 2 days from this service, will be the first anniversary of Rod Cromer's death, a dear friend and husband of 44 years to Jim Wersch, a recent new member at UUCUC, sitting up here in the front pew with Aaron. Rod suffered a heart attack while out digging daylilies at their home and business, 5 Acre Farm Daylilies, between Philo and Villa Grove on Route 130. Even though Jim found him, and they made it to Carl with Rod alive, he passed, soon arriving at the ICU. Jim reached out to me to help lead the Celebration of Life service. Knowing their earth-centered, pagan-oriented beliefs, I knew this hymn would be an inspiration for what I would say, relating to both Rod's life and to their earth-centered beliefs. This outdoor service, held at their much-loved Whiteside Gardens near Charleston, happened last September. I sang the first verse of Each Breath, and then chose to recite the other two, since the range of periodic highs, and most of you that know that I sing, it's a low bass voice. But I wanted to make sure that we got the poetry in. The third verse being particularly meaningful, and as our death draws near and tries to dim our song, our parting prayers will make it clear to whom we still belong. For Rod, Jim, and for me, that means Mother Earth's creation and the universe around us. Thank you. And the step has reached out to grab my foot. It really is missing Beth.
Thank you, Jerry. So now you've heard this multiple times in various ways, and we invite you to stand and sing Each Breath is Borrowed Air, rising to the challenge of the text and the tune. Please rise.
Each breath is borrowed air.
sung. Hymns are an integral part of worship, just as they're an integral part of our daily experience as we grapple with the big questions of our lives. As Jacob Trapp wrote in our introit, worship is the mystery within us, reaching out to the mystery beyond. As we go forth, we hope you'll carry with you a deeper appreciation of the ways that hymns shape our experience, lift us up when we need lifting, provide us space for prayerful reflection in times of confusion and sorrow, open our eyes to the trials and tribulations of others, and inspire us to pursue peace and justice. I think of Thomas Troger's phrase, songs of praise moving through the human heart. Please join me in the words of our chalice extinguishing written by Elizabeth Selly Jones. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again.